Welcome to the True North Fantasy Football Podcast.
What up, fantasy people? Live from Dirty Laundry Studios, this is the True North Fantasy Pod. I am Trav. You can find me on Twitter at TCO14. Find all the crew's work at TrueNorthFFB.com and get all up in the videos on the TNFF network on our YouTube channel. So we had a great weekend of football. We're moving into week 4. The quarter pole is almost here. And with me tonight to chop it up, I have got, of course, my True North cohort, Will Harris. Big Willie style. How you doing tonight, playa?
I'm doing awesome, Trav. Really pumped up to have our guests on tonight, and yeah, just nice to have some football rocking, and we've got some interesting times this week. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's just interesting times overall with that Pittsburgh game likely being postponed till Tuesday. But without further ado, I want to introduce our guest of honor. He is the man with 400 years of research in that big brain. He started watching film on a kinetoscope and crunching data on an abacus. This is from the Fantasy Football Astronauts, Jetpack Galileo. You can find him on Twitter at Jetpack Galileo. JPG, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. What an intro, man. That was amazing. That's as good as anybody's ever said anything.
Befitting someone of your status, of course.
I'm honored. Absolutely honored. Thanks for having me on. I'm so excited for tonight.
Yeah, as am I. The Knots have, that is the Fantasy Football Astronauts at FF_astronauts, if you don't already know, but you should. Great friends of True North, man. We've been talking for a long time, pretty much since I got in the game, and I think it's long overdue to have you on. We're hoping the mayor of Flavortown can make it at some point. He's a little busy right now. He might pop in a little bit, but it's just you, JPG. It's time to shine, buddy.
Yeah, I'm all about it. Yeah, we'll be all right without him. He might make it on, but we'll be okay.
Yeah, we're gonna make it happen tonight, guys. We're gonna talk about some players who have had some slow starts to 2020. Some guys who we expected more from than what we've seen so far. In the middle there, we are going to do another segment of I Got 5 on it with Monkey Knife Fight, where we move into one of the DFS prop games that they've got over there at MKF, and we're going to talk about some of the picks we make. It's going to be in relation to the Thursday night game, which is, to put it gently, an interesting matchup this week. And then after that, we'll get into that. Yeah. And after that, we're going to do a little bit of trend spotting as usual, see if we can take an observation from the past week or two and talk about whether that's something we can expect going forward, if we should maybe cut bait. And I think this is going to be a fun one, guys. Will, how you feeling tonight? Good day for you today?
Yeah, I'm feeling really good. Put some solid work into some special stuff with Viridian and True North that we'll talk about a little bit later. Wrapped up the waiver wire column yesterday, and then just getting ready for some football tomorrow. I mean, it happens so fast, right? Monday night wraps up, and you jump right into waivers, and the next thing you know, we're right into previewing Thursday football. So when there's football 3 days a week, I'm a happy guy. I'm a really happy guy, Trav.
As am I. Before we get into it, Jetpack, I just want to talk to you a little bit about kind of the takeoff of the Fantasy Astronauts. Like I said, I've been chatting with you guys for quite a while, and it's been really cool to watch the growth. You guys have a bunch of amazing resources on the site, on the YouTube channel. We were talking beforehand, and I was telling you how much I value the draft breakdown on your guys' YouTube channel as we lead into the NFL draft and, of course, rookie drafts. So why don't you talk a little bit about what you guys got going on there and how you're feeling about the operation? Because you guys are out in space, man.
Hey, yeah, thanks. Yeah, we're stoked about where we're at, just in terms of how much we've grown and all that. But I think the biggest thing for us was just trying to fill the void of different things in the fantasy industry. And if you guys remember Draft Breakdown, they kind of shut down probably like 5 years or so ago, but they were huge for the industry and huge for scouting. And so we just said, hey, let's recreate some of that just to provide, a resource for people to watch film. And I think really that's what we're after is, scouting the game of football and then applying that to fantasy. So it's like one thing to, scout and say, oh, I like this rookie, or I have this take. It's another to play the game, or, to have a reason for how you're going to apply that. And so for us, I think that's the most exciting thing about what we're trying to do is combine the film, combine the analytics, and then work on, okay, what can we do fantasy wise or DFS wise? So for us, that's been a huge growth area in terms of how we're building, different guys that we've added, different talent that we have to the team, and just all very exciting. So
Yeah, it's a good squad you guys have built over there for sure. Definitely much bigger than it was on day one, and a lot of really, really good content. So we appreciate that too, Jetpack, because film and analytics being combined isn't something you see common. You usually see those two pieces of the community kind of going at each other. But I like that you guys bring that middle ground, and I think you guys do an awesome job of that over there.
Oh yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's fun to make fun of the whole thing, right? It's fun to be like, oh yeah, analytics are stupid.
Totally.
Or, film guys are all meatheads, but, in reality, I think everybody really uses both things. But yeah, I just, part of the whole fantasy deal is just enjoying being able to make fun of each other, being able to hang out in that way. So not ashamed if you, think I'm stupid for a film take, whatever, that's all good.
Yeah, I love that attitude, Jetpack, and like your entire team kind of embraces that. You can see that it resonates across your entire squad. So it's, straight from the top, you guys are doing it right. And just how big is that astronauts crew right now?
Right now we got about 25 guys. So yeah, we're really pushing it. I think adding we added a lot of writing talent that has been really good. And with everybody doing other things for work, it's nice to have the flexibility and a group of guys that, we can all like rotate or share responsibility. And it's there's so much talent out there, right? There's so many guys who are underfollowed and all that kind of stuff. And to just be a platform where we can showcase some of that has been really exciting to see, guys grow in their own skills. And then also just how we're able to like build something that really ends up being valuable.
Yeah, it's that's a lot of dudes, man. We're sitting at about 12, 13 with True North. And we got a pretty wild cast of characters. And just like you said, it's fun to help each other grow personally with our own analysis and content, and then just believe in like a brand and whatnot. And I thank these guys all the time for their buy-in and commitment to True North, because it's been pretty cool to see that. And I definitely Ty and I couldn't have done this stuff without them. So and especially this man right here as well. So he's been on the pod quite a bit lately, and it's been fun, man. So really quick, guys, before we get into it, before we start on these slow starters, just gonna pay a couple of them bills here. Going to talk about our sponsor, Expand the Box Score. So Expand the Box Score is the essential database for all sorts of stat head goodness. Their NFL and college databases are second to none, in my opinion. And then if you're not necessarily into the NFL or into college football, you can dive into baseball. You can dive into basketball data. They got minor league baseball. It's like tons of good stuff and a lot of things that you can't necessarily find anywhere else or in such a nice visual layout as what they have on Expand the Box Score. So we really believe in the product and the people over there, and we can't thank them enough for being such a gracious sponsor for the show. And with that, if you want to head over to Expand the Box Score yourself, do a little bit of stat digging like we like to do. I know Jetpack likes to get into the data. It's insane, some of the stuff Jetpack puts out for sure. And I know you guys have previously done some work with Expand the Box Score as well. But if anybody wants to get in that, use the promo code TrueNorth10. You can get 10% off of your purchase. So 10% off of a year subscription to dig into all of that data. We use it a ton for a lot of our content and can't say enough about the team over there to Expand the Box Score. So that's expandtheboxscore.com. Promo code's TrueNorth10, and you can dive in there as well. Yeah, Andy Singleton's a good guy over there.
I know totally.
You guys had some Expand the Box Score stuff as well. I think Rish is the guy who I talked to originally about that, just to say, hey, how'd you make that happen? And then I reached out, and Andy is just like a super nice guy. He was totally game for it. So appreciate those guys.
Yeah, awesome team. They do really good work. I think the data they provide, especially for college, that's been the most useful. Just when you're scouting and you're trying to put together models and all that. And the data viz is beautiful too. So it's a nice setup for sure.
For sure. And just really quick on that note, Will, I just wanted you to talk about the Canadian National Best Ball Champions League. I mentioned it on the last pod that True North has given 3 one-year subscriptions to the winner of each contest of the CNBBCL. So how's that going so far this season?
Yeah, absolutely. We're really gracious to have True North as a sponsor of the Canadian National Best Ball Champions League, which started with the support of Trav and the Canadian crew. I keep talking about the Canadian crew that literally up until like 6 months ago, I thought that I was the only Canadian playing fantasy football. So it's kind of crazy to see how that's kind of skyrocketed. And with that, the Canadian National Best Ball Champions League has went with it. It started off as one, something to do, something for some fun, a little bit different in the best ball sphere. It's a super flex tight end premium. We go 25 roster spots deep. And now we're at three conferences, 16 teams a conference, and we're pretty much just vying for the top scorer every week. And it's been a ton of fun just to see, some of those late rounders that have hit for some of these teams, and we're keeping everybody updated on a weekly basis. Monkey Knife Fight is the official sponsor, so great weekly prizes for top scorers, Viridian Global as well. My company is one of the sponsors, handing out some cool swag as well to those weekly winners, keeping people engaged. What's going to be really fun is Trophy Smack is our trophy provider, and we will be doing a naming contest here pretty soon. So that will be some fun. There's a lot of creative Canadian.
Oh, I got some ideas.
Oh, yes. Let's run through them first before we put them live.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to announce them on the air just yet until we get approval. But stay tuned.
Yeah, but we're having a ton of fun, and it's been really interesting in tight end premium format. Just some of these sneaky late rounder tight ends that were maybe buried on depth charts or maybe unproven have really made a big difference for some of those teams. So yeah, keep it tuned in. The follow is really easy on Twitter for those that are interested, just at CNBBCL, and lots of fun basketball content, Canadian content, and then just the weekly scores. You can see some of these crazy teams and what everybody's doing. The chatter is pretty good. There's a lot of chirping going on, which is great to see. So we're super excited about where it's going. We're right mid-season, but we got the trophy naming coming up, which will be a lot of fun. And yeah, it's been a real trip, and we appreciate all the support from True North. Thank you for that.
Absolutely, buddy. It just seemed like a perfect fit. It's kind of all in the family with us, eh? Jetpack, real quick, actually, have you ever been up to Canada?
I have not ever been up to Canada.
Oh, hey.
No. Need to change that, bro.
Yeah, I think I do.
we will have you anytime, my man. We got the spot, and we got some stuff to do.
We'll let you in north of the wall. We'll let you in north of the wall.
Thanks. Yeah, I'll just fly over. So be a quick pop.
Yeah, exactly. Just toss the jetpack on, and no time. That is awesome. All right, so we are going to get into the slow starters without any more hesitation. I kind of put a loose little title on this: buying low, selling cheap, or holding tight. So these are going to be guys that we have to kind of decide as we move through the season what we want to do with them, depending on where our roster sits, what our record is. And the first guy I purposely placed because of our guest here, Jetpack. The Will Fuller moon phase is legendary in my book on Twitter, and we're going to talk a little bit about Will Fuller. So I think he's maybe a bit of a cheapie for me to put on there because he missed some time in week 2, but there was a lot of excitement around him coming in the season. He's the wide receiver 35 right now, but he's got a lot of time left. So JPG, I want you to talk a little bit, and I'm going to pull somebody in here as you start going, Jetpack, and then I'll give him the big introduction after. But why don't you talk a little bit about the moon phases, and then tell me how you think Will Fuller can bounce back and potentially be what we wanted him to be at the beginning of the season.
Yeah. So we talk a lot about the film and we talk about the analytics, but really the only thing that actually matters is astronomy. And if you have figured out the key to unlocking what a player's fantasy value is really attached to. And I think I found it with Will Fuller. So last season, I did it all season. I was like 100% accurate. But Will Fuller, when it's almost a full moon, Will Fuller has a good game. And so that's what we're locking into again. This season, I'm 3 for 3 right? We got 3 weeks, three
Yeah.
absolutely perfect decision-making things. So yeah, Will Fuller, he plays well whenever there's a gibbous moon, especially. So always need to be watching the moon, making sure when to start Will Fuller, when to play him, because like it's one thing again to like say, okay, this guy's really talented. It's another to be able to guess when he's going to get injured, all that kind of stuff. And really, the only way to find a good, reliable source, you got to go to the stars. So the moon and the stars. But so yeah, my deal with Will Fuller is I'm a big fan of his game in particular. I remember studying him back in 2017 when it was just kind of wanting to scout him, and he survives on his own and he plays very well on his own. And I was surprised to see that. I think, with Hopkins there, he's taken so much of the targets, and you kind of think, oh, this is a second fiddle guy, or he needs Hopkins to pull away from the top cornerbacks. And that wasn't the case with what I saw on film. And so for me, the only question has been health. And so that's why I'm so excited about him this year. I think he'll be a little bit more healthy overall, but when you look up the matchups, for the rest of the season, there's not a ton of guys that I'm confident that can really handle him. And, they got Minnesota, Jacksonville, Tennessee, Green Bay, Jacksonville, these next 5 games. I mean, that's fantastic slate.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I mean, I'd definitely be buying Will Fuller. If anybody is concerned about injuries, that's part of the game for all these guys, right? You don't know a game's going to get postponed. Guy's going to get COVID, whatever, right? Like that injury risk exists for every player. With Will, it might be a little bit higher, but the talent is there, and they're going to need to be throwing the ball. Houston's not necessarily a special team, so he's the guy for me moving forward that I definitely want to have.
Nice. So we're going to move over to our other esteemed guest just popping in here. Unfortunately, without the frosted tips, which I was really looking forward to. But this is the mayor of Flavortown, and you can find him at FF_Flavortown, and that's flavor with no U. That's FLAVOR. We're not going to hold it against you, buddy. But how are you doing, Mayor Flav?
I appreciate that. I'm doing well. I'm excited to be on. And, I thought to stay true to who I am, I'd bring some food on. So we got my burger here that we'll be snacking on throughout the show. I had to, if I'm going to be Guy Fieri, if I'm Flavortown, I got to bring food on every show now. So
nice.
Just staying on brand tonight. But yeah, excited to be on, guys. Thanks for having me. And to hop on and piggyback off of Jetpack's point, when just in regular conversation, when you tell someone, yeah, you know what, it's a waning gibbous moon today, and their mind is just blown, and they're like, how the heck did you know that? And like, I had to see if I needed to start Will Fuller this week. And when you can drop that piece of knowledge, yeah, it's a waxing gibbous moon, it's a good week. That just in real life blows people's minds. So it helps you not only in fantasy, but it also boosts your kind of prestige with just the normal everyday person.
I think you guys are boosting this podcast's prestige with every second you say gibbous moon. I'm gonna have to get you to drop a little more knowledge on me how I can check this stuff out, fellas. But I'm excited for that. So yeah, Will, what's your take on Will Fuller? I personally have never been like a huge Will Fuller guy. It's all injury related. The production has been huge, if not maybe a bit spotty. But Will, what's your take?
Yeah. I definitely have to get some more Gibbous Moon action for sure. And it's good to have the mayor of Flavortown on. Really good to see you, buddy. Really appreciate everything that you do out there and for jumping on the pod with us. Will Fuller. So first thing that I can confirm, great name. But a couple things about Fuller that I really like what I've seen so far is usage across the field. I mean, he's been kind of typecasted as this field stretcher. We've seen him being used in a lot of different situations, in a lot of different ways, which is really positive. We like to think, or maybe we don't, that Bill O'Brien knows what he's doing when he traded away the best wide receiver in football. Maybe that's because he can trust Will Fuller. And maybe that's because he does look at him as that alpha that can play all over the field. But another side of me says that probably Bill O'Brien doesn't know what he's doing. and he went out and traded D-Hop and then brought in Brandon Cook. So I'm not so concerned about Will Fuller. I am, the injury concerns. I think that Jetpack said it really well. I mean, it's an injury concern whether the guy has history or not. COVID too plays a whole new role in this situation, and we really, you know what, if you've got skilled players, I think in season long, if you've got skilled players and they're on your bench, you want to keep them on your bench because you never know when they're going to become a useful tool, a useful piece in your fantasy teams. So that's where I'm at Will Fuller. I think that he is going to have a blow up week, but with the depth situation across the league, anybody that has that kind of skill and that kind of talent, I'm absolutely holding on to them. And Will Fuller can be a absolute game changer. And that field usage has been really interesting so far through 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think over the past 2 seasons, I've actually seen that where I have started to come around a little bit towards Will Fuller. In his first 4 seasons, he only had 2 games with 10 targets or more. In the past 2 seasons, in a limited sample size, he's got 3 games with at least 10 targets. So that tells me different usage because he is a guy who can blow up off of 4 or 5 targets, but then you start adding those 5 or 6 more, and then there's some massive ceiling there. So I'm coming around on Will Fuller. It's taken a little while, but I'm starting to get there. And this season, his usage is kind of proven that to be a good move. Gibbous moon or not, right, gentlemen?
That's right. I mean, you have to be fair, right? When it's a crescent moon, that's a no start for Will.
Okay,
you got it, and that might be half the time. But when he's hitting, he's hitting.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I see the moon like directly off my balcony, and it's really nice and big, so I'll be able to check that out. Yeah.
The other thing that's worth noting is he did have in the first game against Kansas City, he did have 2 drops there pretty early on, but he's posted an 80% catch rate so far, and that's I'd love to see him get a little bit more volume than the 5 targets he had last game, but he's posting an 80% catch rate, so that's pretty solid. Deshaun Watson's getting him the ball and getting him the ball accurately, even on the passes that he's not catching. They're accurate balls, so you love that efficiency. And I mean, if he's becoming that every down target and not just that deep ball shot, not just the home run guy, I mean, that's a valuable player to have for Deshaun Watson's as one of Deshaun Watson's targets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been quite the evolution for Deshaun Watson as well. Bill O'Brien's not doing him any favors, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to throw out to the mayor and Jetpack is just like, is there concerns just overall in Texas and how they're using Deshaun and just how that offense looks through 3 weeks?
To me, it just feels so unpredictable. And I think that's the thing that maybe as an NFL team, that's all right. But when you're looking for fantasy points, that's not what you want at all. And so the unpredictability of, is it going to be Brandon Cooks? Is it going to be Will Fuller? Because I actually think their skill sets are decently similar. And their injury proneness is decently similar. How are they going to utilize that? And then all of a sudden you have Randall Cobb in there. And so it's just such a random offense, it feels like. And so I think when it really comes down to who you're deciding to play and what the choice is there week to week, using the moon stages is probably as scientific and the best you're going to get.
Well, yeah, I mean, incredibly reliable. What's better than 100%?
Exactly.
So good. All right, we're moving on, gentlemen. We're going to move on to the next. It's actually a pair, this one. This is we're going to the land, and we're going to talk about Odell and Jarvis. Odell is currently the wide receiver 38. Jarvis is the wide receiver 59. So Odell's target share is still 28%, which is pretty good for a low volume offense. Obviously, we know that. But on those 28% targets, he only has 11 receptions. Jarvis has just a little bit under 20% at 17. And the big thing I see is no red zone targets thus far for Jarvis, where he was top 3 in the league last year in red zone targets. So obviously the Kevin Stefanski aspect has been pretty huge. Will, I want you to kick this off and let me know what you think about these guys, if you can see an avenue for them to bounce back, and then kick it to either the mayor or Jetpack after that, my man.
Yeah, this is a really interesting one. We look at OBJ and Landry, and Landry we kind of bank in as a really solid WR2 for our teams. He's going to eat up a ton of targets. He's going to put up fantasy points. I think that a lot of people were buying OBJ on the low with with memories of the catch in our mind, and we were kind of teased with his talent there in week 2. But let's call a spade here. The Cleveland Browns will only win football games on the ground. They are going to be run heavy. They might have the best running back tandem in the NFL, and we see what they can do with the lead. Baker coming from behind, I don't have a lot of confidence in that. I don't see it happening. What is also really interesting, and I know that it's a new offense under Stefanski, but it looks like the trend in the red zone in the passing game is to target the tight end. We saw it with Njoku in week 1. And this is a carryover even from the old system that they used last year. So I'm really Jarvis and OBJ. I think it's going to be really tough. I want to see what it looks like in a game script where they're coming from behind and who they go to. Landry to me is kind of the natural one that I would want to buy low on if there is one. But is he fully healthy? He doesn't look like the Landry that we've known and grown to love for fantasy purposes. We penciled him in for that solid WR2 role. So how are the Browns going to win games? It's going to be on the ground with Chubb and with Hunt. I just don't see Baker being able to unlock these two for the rest of the season.
Yeah, Jetpack, what are you thinking? Do you think either of them can bounce back? And what would you say as far as buy and selling Holden for these two?
Yeah, I think Will's the analysis of what the Cleveland wants to do, right? And when you're projecting out these guys, I think 28% target share or that plus 25 range is where you'll have Odell or you'll have like a guy like Adam Thielen, but both of these offenses, both related to Stefanski, do not want to throw the ball very much, right? And so the overall volume, you can look at the target share and be like, oh yeah, this is the team leader, right? But in terms of targets, he's like 25th on the list or 30th in the list of wideouts right now, and so there's a little frustration there. I think I'm a big talent guy, right? And so I'll believe in Odell's talent and I'll rely on that. And so if anybody is selling him in the like wide receiver 3 type range, just out of frustration, I'm willing to pay up for that because he's a little bit younger. And he's so special just as far as who he is as an athlete. And I think, looking at week 1, right, that's really the only game where you're really concerned, right? The other 2 games, he's playing all right, or he's posting relevant numbers. And in the beginning, first game, they just got destroyed by Baltimore, and he's no match for Marlon Humphrey. Marlon Humphrey owns him. I think Rish did a whole video on that matchup last season, and it was just, the guy, Odell's got no answers for Humphrey. And so if you look past that matchup, though, I think we've seen Odell show a little bit of what's made him special. And so, yeah, I'd be buying Odell or definitely at least holding tight. Where are you at, Rish?
Yeah, the video I think I made was called Odell Gets Humped by Marlon Humphrey. And
kind of fitting given the recent news, hey? It's kind of like along the same lines as that.
Oh my goodness!
So, but we won't get into that too deep.
Yeah, I got made fun of a little bit for that title, but it was too good of a name, too good of a pun for me to pass up. I'm with you. I think I got burned a little bit before in fading talent because of situation. And so I want to buy talent. And if you can get elite level talent, and for those of you that don't know, Odell Beckham Jr. is in the Illuminati. So it will, he's definitely in the Illuminati. So his time's going to come. You can't keep him down for too long. There's too much power there. So I think if you're posting that 28% snap or target share, that's where you want to be. They're going to figure it out. It's still, when you're looking at these offenses still this year, you have to realize these are basically preseason games. Like you're just now getting into where you'd be in a rhythm. So the first 2-3 games, those are the preseason games, and if you're seeing him get the volume, he's going to have the connection. It's going to be better. moving forward. Jarvis, I think, coming off that hip surgery, I think he's just starting to feel comfortable with his body. You saw him. It takes you a while to trust your body again, and so I know he does the right stuff rehab wise, and so I think he's just now starting to get comfortable in his body. So that's not the concern for me. The concern is his lack of volume. He's never been a guy that excels without the volume, and so I mean, if someone wants to buy Jarvis, I'll sell him because I don't think he's going to get the volume in this offense. He's someone that just absolutely thrives on volume. And so last year he was getting it, and this year he's not. So until that changes, until it looks like they're going to move away from that intense run game or whatever, I don't love him. Now that being said, I think they're going to have to throw the ball a little bit more in these upcoming weeks. So you might see a slight spike here. Who do they have? They have the Cowboys this week, the Colts, the Steelers. And then, it looks to be some games where they might not throw the ball as much. They'll be able to stick to the run game. So if Jarvis Landry pops off in one of these next 3 weeks, I'm selling him because I don't love the schedule the rest of the season. I don't think his volume will be what it needs to be. So I'm hoping for a good game against the Cowboys, and then boom, sell him. Especially in redraft leagues. So that's kind of where I'm at with both of those guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that Cowboys defense has proven gettable this season. They just got torn up by Russell Wilson. And I like the point Jetpack made that 28% in this offense as far as target share is not the same as 28% in, say, Atlanta's offense. So I think that's a really good point, that it will still be a little bit maybe lower volume. He's not going to be, I don't think he's going to be getting like 140 plus targets or anything like that. But I think if we're looking at 28% versus 17%, even in a low passing volume, I'm going 28% for the more talented guy every day. So I like that. I think that was really well put, guys. We're going to move on to the next guy we're talking about here. And this was a draft season darling, in my opinion. And that would be DJ Moore in Carolina with the new offense, Matt Rule, wide receiver 28 right now, where Robbie Anderson is the wide receiver 8 currently in PPR, which is pretty incredible. Big suck it to Adam Gase on that one, that Robbie Anderson is tearing it up. So yeah, eat that, Adam Gase. But I mean, DJ Moore was like a top 20 pick as far as DLF ADP in like August to September or so. So what are we thinking about DJ Moore at the wide receiver 28 right now? Jetpack, we'll start with you. And do we think he's going to bounce back from that?
Sure, I think so. So yeah, with DJ Moore, I think, and the Panthers specifically, we're seeing a little bit of what we were afraid we were going to see with DeAndre Hopkins and the Cardinals, right? They're the team that's spreading it out. Matt Rule is the team who's running his bear raid with these Panthers, and really all these guys are more similar talents, right? And that's really what you have to do when you're judging, an air raid offense or a passing attack like this. Is you have to say, okay, who's creating who is the best receiver on the team, and can I really tell the difference here? And I think we all underestimated who Robbie Anderson was. But now that we know that they're similar talents, there's not a whole lot to me that says I need to be buying DJ Moore. So if I have DJ Moore, I've invested a lot, I'm going to hold, right? They're still going to need to pass the ball. They don't have McCaffrey, so they're going to need to be moving the ball as much as they can. And then they have a pretty good schedule as far as like light DBs, right? They're playing the Cardinals, the Falcons. Bears will be tough. Saints will be all right, but they're going to have to throw to keep up with the Saints, and then the Falcons again, right? So, those matchups are all good DJ Moore matchups for the most part. But I wouldn't necessarily be buying, because I know that, they're going to want to get the ball really to whoever's available, and really Robbie's been that guy. So, that's where I'm at on DJ. I'd hold tight, or I'd be, but I wouldn't be buying.
Mm-hmm. Rish, how about yourself, man?
I mean, I guess it depends on price. He's someone that's been excellent the past couple of years, and so I mean, if someone's looking to ditch him cheap, I still think he has the wide receiver 1 upside. That being said, I'm not paying wide receiver 1 price for him right now. So it really depends on what's the market of your league look like, and how can you capitalize on that, because I mean, he is a great talent, and so you got to give him that, but. Yeah, that the Teddy Bridgewater coming in and kind of ruin his fantasy value is tough. It was interesting. I thought he was going to. So my thought was he was going to be a buy as Christian McCaffrey got injured. that he would be the guy that they kind of funneled all the targets to, obviously the top talent on the team. And that didn't seem to be the case. He didn't have the performance that I was hoping for. So it's kind of difficult because now you're stuck with Teddy Bridgewater for the next little bit. And so I know I just said I want to buy talent, and I do. It's just it doesn't seem to be worth the wide receiver one price that you would have had to have paid to get him. So you're if you sell him, you're not getting the proper price for him, and if you try to buy him, you cannot pay the wide receiver one price. So yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm at. He's a hold and test the market, I guess, because you definitely want him on your team. You just don't want to pay that price. Interesting trade that happened. We had a guy that was not paying attention at all. Didn't know anything that happened this offseason. Traded the 201, which ended up being Justin Jefferson in this one league at the 201 for Robbie Anderson, and just got trashed in the group chat. And then all of a sudden, now Robbie Anderson's popping off. It was a great trade for the season. So that was a little story on someone not paying attention and just lucking out.
That's like fantasy football in a nutshell right there. Just how stuff can just get flipped right on its head, just out of nowhere. That's awesome. That is awesome. Will, why don't you polish off your thoughts on DJ Mo Money? I think with him, it's definitely like Rish said, the market is definitely what you got to look at. Because if I can get him at those kind of wide receiver 24 or back prices, like what he's performing at now, sure. But I don't think there's a chance that you're getting him for that. So, Will, what are you thinking for DJ?
Yeah, I'm pretty similar here. I think that there's going to be for teams that are rostering DJ Moore and routinely going in the late second into the third round. It's going to be a sunk cost fallacy there. They're going to hold on to DJ, and guess what? He's going to have boom weeks because he's actually getting volume here, right? Like you look at the target distribution over 3 weeks, and it's actually pretty close. But there is a little bit of the coach speak that we heard, with Matt Rule and the Temple connection. I like to call Carolina Temple South right now, and it's working. Robbie Anderson has always said that he is more than just a deep threat burner, and he's getting that work. He's getting those looks, and he looks great being away from Gase and the craziness in New York. I think that it's going to continue. If he's the favorite target of Teddy, why would Teddy stop going to him? But I also think, going back to the point that was made earlier, is that talent trumps all. I think that DJ Moore is still the most talented wide receiver on that team. He's going to have boom weeks. He went off for 2 pretty big catches last week, and he's going to have weeks where he takes it to the house. I'm not probably going out and actively seeking him because I think that the price will be too high. If he's on my team, I'm going to keep him because he will, the talent does trump, and he's going to have boom weeks. So I'm holding tight. I'm holding tight with DJ Moore, and just absolutely loving the Robbie story right now, though.
Yeah. So I think he's like a wide receiver 15, 16, right? And then that's your kind of, if you're going to buy, usually you're going to have to pay more than that, right? So.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And it's really hard to pay up for that price. And it's weird because we kind of thought Teddy Bridgewater coming in with DJ Moore and those shorter targets with the yards after the catch was kind of a perfect mesh. I'm kind of with you guys. You kind of just have to hold on to him if you do have him on your roster right now and hope that mesh does happen, because as Mayor Flav was saying before, these are pretty much like preseason games right now. These guys, Bridgewater and DJ Moore, didn't have any offseason program together really. So this is them just kind of getting their feet wet together. So I like all of that, and we're gonna mosey. Brian, yeah, that's a good point, Brian. He does need a little bit of a spike in those touchdowns. It's been pretty low versus his target volume.
Carolina should just score more anyways. Like I've been surprised. I put a lot of chips on Carolina being this high tempo, fast paced offense that was going to score a lot. We've yet to really see that fully unlocked. So here's hoping.
Okay, and so we're moving into a little bit of a different position group, fellas. We're going to go to the running backs, and we are going to talk your boy, Rish,
Yes,
David
sir.
Montgomery from the Chicago Bears. So, I think we know who we're going to start with on this one. David Montgomery is the running back 25, so still like a fringe running back too. So not like the slowest start. He finishes the 24 last year on the button. But now we got that Tariq Cohen injury that opens a lot of things up as far as David Montgomery's potential ceiling. So, Rish, why don't you talk a little bit about Montgomery and what you expect from him going forward, and if you're buying, selling, holding, and what you might be paying.
Yeah, so absolutely buy. He's still so incredibly cheap, and for anyone that I advise this season, they got him in the 6th, 7th round, and so every person that I helped draft, he is on every single team, and now you have an RB3. Tons of depth with that RB1, RB2 upside, because you saw in that second week, he just absolutely went off. He was the offensive player of the game for the Bears and looked phenomenal, catching the ball, running the ball, open space. He is a different player, and the players on the team say that he actually, I think, people are noticing the pop in his step this year, and other players on the team are I know this is coach speak and player speak, but other players on the team are noticing that he feels faster, he feels more explosive, and he said himself that he now understands the offense. Last year he was playing kind of trying to figure out the offense. So I love where it's going this year with Nick Foles in. I think you're going to have even better success on offense, which is going to give him more volume. Obviously, Tariq Cohen injured. David Montgomery's a guy that can split out wide. He's a good receiving back. He runs good routes, and you get him matched up on a linebacker, and I think that's a mismatch for the most part. So when you look at all those things, when you look at the changing quarterback, when you look at how he's played, when he's gotten the volume, and the fact that now there's no backup. They brought Artavis Pierce up, and so now it's David Montgomery, Cordero Patterson, Ryan Nall, Artavis Pierce. There's no one back behind him. Cordero Patterson is not a true running back. And so it just looks like all systems go for David Montgomery right now. I want to see one more week of this offense, because now it's a Nick Foles offense. So I'm not starting him necessarily, but he has so much potential here. And my favorite stat that I just saw, and someone was pointing out how good James Robinson has been. James Robinson's a top 10 running back in yards created.
I saw that. Yeah.
David Montgomery is number 2 in the NFL for yards created right now. Number 2 in the NFL for yards created. This guy can ball. This guy, he's defeating tacklers. He's defeating the first tackler, and he's creating yards. Even when he's getting hit behind the line of scrimmage, he's getting back to the line of scrimmage. And so you're seeing now that Mitch isn't the quarterback, you're going to see a lot more shotgun plays. You're going to see a lot more the defense just on their heels, not knowing what to expect, and that's going to open up lanes for David Montgomery. It's going to be way less predictable offense. Nick Foles is going to be able to check out of things if he doesn't like it at the line, where Mitch, it was just if the play's called, you're running it. So now you have so much better offense, so much more variability in the offense, and a guy who I think is truly talented. So it's all systems go on David Montgomery. I'm buying him because he's still so cheap. Well, I don't need to buy him anymore. I have him everywhere. So
yes, you do.
You should confirm. You should go get him. But yeah, I think he's. I would lock him in as an RB2 with RB1 upside on a weekly basis. The Bears still have a pretty decent schedule. It's not too crazy the rest of the year. They have the Vikings twice. They have the Lions again. The Packers offense or defense has not looked good. So they have quite a few favorable matchups left this year. And so I'm buying.
The 3-0 Chicago Bears, right, guy?
The 3-0.
Yeah.
No
How about
doubt.
this? Best quarterback room in the NFL. The Bears, they have 2 undefeated quarterbacks this season. 2 undefeated quarterbacks. Mitch, 2-0. Nick Foles, 1-0. You can't even argue it. Best quarterback room in the NFL.
I'm just going to say I won't argue it. I'm just going to leave it. I'm just going to leave that one well alone.
Conversation.
No, for sure. So, Jetpack, you always have to listen to this guy yapping about the Bears. What's your take on David Monty and his potential surge in this offense with Tariq Cohen out?
Oh, I love it. Yeah, I'm all about Monty. What is it? The feat of Saquon Barkley, the vision of Le'Veon Bell.
Whoa.
He's the best athlete in the NFL, right?
Yep.
And yeah, I'm a big fan of the volume going forward, right? I think losing Tariq Cohen, who he contributed or he took a lot away just from the overall upside. So that's all there. All systems go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the unpredictability that Rish was talking about before. Will, why don't you polish off a little David Monty, and then we're going to head into our last running back in this group of slow starters.
Yeah, talk about the quietest 3-0 team in the league, which is pretty crazy coming out of Chicago, which is great to see. I really hope that BDN, he can put that offense together. We've seen this team struggle on offense, which just has blown my mind actually since Nagy has been there. It hasn't made a lot of sense to me, and I hope that with the big D back there that they'll be able to put it together. And what's really interesting too is Monty's usage in the pass game. Even when Tariq Cohen was there, he was being used as a receiver and a very effective one. I think that volume will trump all. I love it. What I'm interested in, does Chicago bring in a veteran to kind of fill in the void, especially with the season that we're having this year with COVID uncertainty? That's where it might get interesting for me. I mean, Lamar Miller is still floating around out there, but for me, for Monty, I would hate to make all those zero RB people right this season.
Rish, what's your take on that? Since you're so close to the team, on them potentially bringing somebody in.
Yeah, I think they absolutely will. I think before I go into that, I think Nick goes by Tripod now. But so you can refer to him that way. But yeah, I think they absolutely have to bring someone in. I think they absolutely have to bring someone in. They visited 4 running backs today, and I don't know that anyone that they bring in is going to be more than a practice squad guy. Because you saw Lamar Miller's gotten cut by how many teams this offseason? How many teams has he visited, and he didn't even get a chance. So I'm not too worried about any veteran that they bring in. I think you're more looking at someone who's going to be depth, maybe an Artavis Pierce replacement. Although I think Artavis Pierce has some value there. I think he's actually pretty talented. So yeah, I'm not too worried about that. I think they definitely will bring someone in, and that's going to decrease David Montgomery's value even more. But this team has shown an undying commitment to only one player this offseason, and that is David Montgomery. Like literally everybody else, they signed 1 million tight ends. They're not committed to any single tight end. They drafted one, they signed 15, and then they cut 12. And we still have 24 tight ends on the roster. So they're not committed to anyone. They won't extend Allen Robinson, although I do think they want him there. Like, there has been zero commitment to anyone except David Montgomery. They have an undying love for him, even greater than mine. So I think I think you're going to start to see him get the volume, and I'm not worried at all about any veteran presence.
What do you see this week in terms of snap share with Cohen out now? Because we've seen him kind of south of that 50%. He was banged up to start the season. Where do you see that snap share now that Tariq's out of the picture?
I mean, what was he at? I think he was at like 46% snap share, somewhere in there. I mean, you got to bump up to at least 60, right? 60, 70% snap share. And then the volume just comes with that, because they're not going to play Cordero Patterson more than 30% of the snaps. Like that's just not going to happen.
That's crazy to hear that out loud, by the way.
Yeah, it's right there. Like, but I mean, he's not played bad, but like, you're not getting Cordero Patterson is a trick guy. He's not an every down back. He's a good receiving back. Like, he could be a Tariq Cohen receiving replacement, but like 60, 70%, like you're going to see David Montgomery be one of the top in the league in snap share, I think.
definitely carries for sure. He had 242 last year, I believe, and I think he's probably going to eclipse that because they're probably going to lean on him without having Cohen as that pass catcher. Speaking of another back who is kind of electric, not quite in the mold of Tariq Cohen, that was my effort at a segue into this next guy, and I butchered it completely. But we're going to talk about Kenyon Drake, somebody who I have been a big fan of. He was kind of going in that top to middle of the second round during draft season, and he's the running back 29 through 3 weeks. So Will, I want you to kick it off and then kick it to one of the boys. What's your take on Kenyon Drake and whether he can get back to what he was at the end of last year? Because he was looking awesome as a part of that. He was like a top 5 back over the last half of the season with Arizona. I want to see that personally, but do you think we're going to, Will? And what would you be doing with Kenyon Drake?
This one is really interesting. Drake was I think that there's a lot of Drake truthers out there, and it's been a roller coaster ride for us since his time in Miami and under our friend Adam Gase. Last season, he showed what he could do with giving the ball in Arizona, and I was really excited coming into this season. For me, last week was the make or break game. Playing against a Detroit team that was absolutely destroyed by Aaron Jones. I'm not saying that Drake is a similar talent to Aaron Jones, but they do some things similarly. They're very adequate in the pass game. Matt Patricia completely sold out to stop the pass game, to stop Adams. And they didn't do that in that Arizona game, and was really surprising that Drake was so inefficient in terms of fantasy production. That game against Detroit for me was, okay, this is going to be the game that Drake breaks out. He has another great opportunity to do so in Carolina. Detroit for me was kind of that benchmark game that said to me, there might be an issue here. It might be a time to look at some of the other talented backs that Arizona has and has been very efficient in terms of usage when they're given the chance. If Drake doesn't have a relevant fantasy week for me against Carolina, or maybe if he does, that's a time to look to sell. This looks like a bit of a different team in terms of how they're doing things. I mean, they're going to D-Hop as much as humanly possible. We saw Andy Isabella be super efficient, and I think that he kind of slides into an important role into that offense. Drake, to me, there's a lot of uncertainty for him after the season as well. If he doesn't produce in Carolina, or even if he does, I'm probably looking to cut bait with Drake, and I've already done so in a few formats, and would love to hear what everybody else is kind of thinking about Drake. I think the talent is there. I don't understand it. Everybody keeps talking about, well, it's because Murray keeps snaking him at the goal line. Well, Drake's never been a goal line back, right? We've known Drake to rip these big runs. We haven't seen that. Would love to hear where everybody else is at with Kenyon.
So I think one thing that's kind of been forgotten at this point is he was in a boot in the preseason. He missed some practice, and so I'm wondering, like he's not on. I haven't seen the injury report at all, but I'm wondering if he's not feeling 100% and physically. And so I don't know what the injury was. I just know that he was in a boot. Everyone's going to say they're 100%. Everyone's going to say they're fine because that's what you do if you're a football player and you're a tough guy, right? But I'm wondering if there's some physical piece to this. I also think you've seen him be never be like 100% the workhorse, and I don't know if there's anything that in a practice would indicate that. I know we all want him to get all the volume, but Chase Edmonds has shown that he's a very good running back as well. And so maybe it's one of these cases where now you see Chase Edmonds working in and they don't feel like Kenyon Drake is necessarily the guy, the workhorse back that we all want him to be. I mean, when we play fantasy football, you want someone to be the workhorse. Like that's the ideal scenario. And so we kind of convince ourselves in our minds that this is how it has to be. When NFL coaches don't necessarily see that. So I think when you look at a little bit of the inefficiency, maybe there's some injury piece. I can't confirm or deny that, but that is something that was kind of a hot topic and then everyone seems to have forgotten about. And then I was always high on Chase Edmonds. He was one of my favorite running backs in his draft class, and you're seeing him just kind of be a nuisance.
Mm-hmm.
I think
For
the
sure,
other
Jetpack.
just to jump on the injury piece, Drake makes it almost a point after every game to talk about him, how he's not injured and the fantasy points are going to come. I don't know if anybody else has been like following that storyline, how he's like super involved with people's fantasy teams and he's always chirping about that. That to me, right from that boot news, boot news at the start of the season was a red flag for me. I'm like, why is this player talking about it? He's making it a big deal. Where if it is just a walking boot, you're probably not talking about it. So I think that you're probably onto something, that there might be a little bit more. He might be a bit dinged up. But if you're not following Drake and you see his fantasy takes and his how it's clearly something that is top of mind for him, give him a follow.
I haven't seen that. Jetpack, Mr. Galileo, where are you sitting on Drizzy?
Yeah, well, you're talking about him on Twitter. Before the season, he tweeted out a picture of him in his room, and he's got a telescope in his room. And for me, that was the selling point, right? This guy knows what's going on, right? As soon as he gets healthy, he'll be hitting it. And, looking at the Cardinals snap count, he's getting Aaron Jones type touches. He's getting Chris Carson type touches. I think it's a matter of time. With Kyler Murray there is an issue as far as, running into those goal line touches or running into vultures. Really, he got one vultured in week 1, too. But like you're saying, Will, this Panthers game for me is what you had last week with the Lions. This Panthers game is where I decide, okay, I need to consider moving on or not. This would be the one where I'm making that decision. I'm still a fan. I love his game. I think he's a good ball player. But yeah, you just got to look at the usage overall and say, okay, let me lower my expectations anyways, right? Generally speaking, for everybody, he's going to be your RB2, right? And so, yeah, I think that's a good ballpark for him, though. Fitting instead of into the potential top 10 range, now I've slid him down. Now he's in the 12 to 14.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's probably right around where I'd have him as well. And just to kind of finish off on Drake there, like you said, Jetpack, he's getting a lot of opportunities. 9th most opportunities in the league. 5th most rushing attempts. He's got the 9th most rushing yards. What's killing him is the targets. He's got the 46th most running back targets, which we've seen funneled almost, well, not directly because they're different type of targets, but DeAndre Hopkins is commanding those in astounding fashion. So it's been a bit of a shift compared to what we were expecting, but I think it's something he can correct. So I'm holding on to Kenny Drake.
And wouldn't it be the most Drizzy thing ever to do is as soon as you count him out, he rips off a 30-pointer or 40-pointer? Isn't that what we've seen it? Yeah. We've seen it time and time again where he starts, people get so frustrated, he starts popping up on waivers, and somebody else, of course, other than yourself, grabs him and he goes for 30 or 40. So I think that probably holding them or selling them after a big game is probably a good move.
Yeah. So, part of the conversation has to be what's the rest of the RB market like, right? I mean, how many running backs are left that are getting 70% of the touches, right? I think, and that's why I'm willing to say, okay, let me wait just a little bit more, right? Because I don't have McCaffrey, I don't have Saquon anymore. Let me just hold on just a little bit more. We'll give him a chance.
And one more piece there. When you look at, teams only throw so many times to the running back position. You're not going to get more than 10 targets to a running back in any given game, especially with this air raid type offense. Chase Edmonds is getting double the targets as Kenyon Drake. So, in game 1, he had 5 targets to Kenyon Drake's 2, and then 4 targets to Kenyon Drake's 2. So you're seeing the receiving volume cut by Chase Edmonds more than the actual rushing volume.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. It's since he's such a fantasy head, I'm sure Kenyon Drake is probably watching this right now. So Kenyon Drake, for my rosters, this is the week to give me one of those 40 burgers, man. We would really appreciate that over here at True North Fantasy Football. And moving along, we're gonna get into I Got 5 on it, gentlemen. So that's a segment that we've had. I think this is the 3rd go around on the main pod for I Got 5 on it. And really quick, while I get this set up, I want you guys to tell me who's the artist that does the song I Got 5 on it, please. Does anybody know the answer to that?
That's a Jetpack knowledge.
Yeah, Jetpack, you got some hip hop in you.
No, I'm ashamed.
No,
man. No, what the
That's
heck?
2 pod episodes in a row that nobody has known that it was Loonies. I Got 5 on it.
Man,
Last week I sung it a little bit. I'm going to spare our viewers and listeners that this week. It just came over me, but I've thought better of it. So I am going to share my screen. We are going to pull up Monkey Knife Fight. In this segment, I'm just going to toss a $5 bet down. Man, I got 3 kids. I'm not dropping 50 burgs on a game or a prop game entry here. I'm going to toss 5 down on it. And you guys are going to help me. And I was telling Jetpack beforehand that at this point we have been skunked. So the pressure is on astronauts for you guys to take this to intergalactic places and make us win. So I don't know what I was going for there, but we're going to get this W this week, guys. Okay, so share my screen. All right, so we're good to go. We can see the Monkey Knife Fight dashboard here. We go in. We always do more or less games. I think it's fun. It breeds really good discussion. So we're going to kind of stick with that. And this one, as you can see here, we have to get 3 out of 3 correct, and we will get 6 times the buy-in. So with me having 5 on it, we're going to make 30 bones if we end up getting this W, gentlemen. So we hop in there. Oh,
Right.
this one, the line changed a little bit from earlier. It changed a little bit from earlier, and I'll talk about that when we get there. So as we look here, the game's pretty straightforward. We talk about whether we want more, whether we want less of the particular line on Monkey Knife Fight. And so kicking it off on the left-hand side, we've got old Sam D in New York with his buddy Adam calling the plays. Not sure what he's calling, but he's calling something. They are at home against the Broncos tomorrow night on Thursday Night Football, and the line for Sam Darnold is 223.5 yards. Hey, we don't make the matchups for Thursday night. We just analyze them, ladies and gentlemen. So Will, where you sit on this prop here?
I just looked at who they lined up as the stars for this game, and I just threw up in my mouth a little bit. Okay, so we have to do this, eh? Okay.
Yeah, we do. We're live, Will. Come on.
Yeah, we're live. That's just so incredibly low. I still want to take the under on it. I'm gonna take the under. Yeah, I'm gonna go less.
Okay.
Than
Jetpack, how about
223.
you?
I'm over. Yeah, more.
Over.
So,
I
yeah,
take it.
Buffalo Bills, San Francisco 49ers, Indianapolis Colts. Those are good defenses. Broncos have everybody injured. So
Yeah.
I'm over here.
Nice. We got 1 apiece. Rish, break that tie, buddy.
I think I'm going to go under here. I just don't think they have the weapons for Sam Darnold to actually hit that over mark.
And you'll see with the third option, we will talk a little bit about those weapons. Sam Darnold, I actually am going to go under as well. So apologies to Jetpack, but we outvoted you on this one. Sam Darnold, I know those are good. Yeah, this is a prestigious one to outvote somebody on here. I'm going to write home to mom. Give me a sec. 168 yards in week 1, 179 yards in week 2, and 215 in week 3. Granted, those are very good defenses, but I'm not necessarily sure that this defense is that much of a difference that he's going to go over that. So we're going to go with less on that one. This next one is the brand spanking new Brett Rippon. We're going to start from the bottom up and start with you on this one, Rish. 202.5 yards. Is Brett Rippon going to hit 203 against that Jets defense in the Meadowlands?
I don't think so. I don't. Yeah. I just think this is going to be a run fest on both sides, and I think you're going to see like 200 yards of total offense. So I'm going to go less.
Yeah, Frank Gore versus Melvin Gordon. It's going to be the war of 3 yard per carry running backs.
They're ground and pound.
Yeah, for sure. They're each going to have 47 carries for 2.5 yards a pop. Jetpack, how about yourself?
More, of course. I'm going over on all these.
Oh, wow, you're smashing it. We might have to make a second one where we just go for Jetpack's over picks just to see, just to build our chances of winning, right?
I'll throw a 5 to go on Jetpack's overs on every single one. I'd love to see that.
So we'll place that one after the show. Just okay, it's going to be awesome. And
at least we make our money back.
This one. Yeah, exactly.
Watch, yeah. One of them will be. Yeah.
With my track record, yeah, we're hooped. Yeah. But Will, what do you say on this one?
Oh man, This is just so disgusting. You know what though? I'm gonna have some faith. There's some Canadian lineage here for Ripin.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah, there is. And what was it? Is it his grandfather or his
I
uncle?
think it's his grandfather or his
He's a
uncle.
Canadian NFL legend. He won a Super Bowl.
He's from
So,
Calgary.
let's go for the more. Let's
yeah,
Wow.
baby.
Let's
That's what I'm talking
let's
about.
go for it. I mean, they've got Noah Fant healthy to throw to, right? What more do you need?
Man, you know what? Because I don't want to make it a tie, I'm going to allow the majority that we have now to win.
Yes.
Partially because I'm trying to duck this one because it's so gross. I probably would have gone for the less option, but we're taking more just because we had that natural majority there. So it's on you guys. I'm just saying it's on you guys.
He'll get he'll get 201 or something.
Yeah,
like that.
for sure he will. So Jamison Crowder, he's back from injury. Rish, we're gonna start with you actually. Do you want to just talk a little bit about that injury and then let us know your take on the 55.5 receiving yards?
Yeah, so he had a hamstring strain, if I'm not mistaken, and a pretty good one. So typically when you see someone that has been questionable during the week, coming off an injury, their first week back from specifically a hamstring injury, you do not see the production that you normally get. You saw Adam Thielen's production drop like crazy last year after the injury, the hamstring injury. And so I think it'll be a similar thing where they probably, I don't even know if they'll play him his full snap share that you normally expect. So I expect Braxton Berrios to be the wide receiver 1 there this week. As weird as that continues to sound. But I think he's shown himself and proved himself to be solid. So I'm going to go under because yeah, if I'm projecting Sam Darnold to throw under 223, I don't think Jamison Crowder breaks 55. He's not a deep threat guy, and when you get a guy that's coming off injury, he's likely not going to see the same volume. He's likely not going to see the same yak. So yeah, give me the under on Jamison. Although this is a really good one. I do think it will be pretty close.
For sure. And I think Will now has to go change his pants after you mentioned Braxton Berrios. We'll get to you, buddy. But Jetpack, where are you sitting on JC?
Oh, over. Yeah. I mean, you already know. This is gonna be a barn burner. Barn burner right here.
I wonder what the point total over under is, because it's you'd probably be smashing that too, wouldn't you, Jetpack?
24. It's 24.
Is
it really?
I'm just
Total.
I wouldn't be surprised, and I would definitely hit that. Okay, well, I know Braxton was mentioned, but if you can pull yourself together for a second to make a selection here, that'd be great.
Still just sweating and dripping a little bit here. But yeah, you know what? We've been incredibly blessed to start the season on some really good Thursday night games. So this one had to show up. You know, I'm a Brax. I love. Everybody was laughing at me when I said, "Yeah, pick up Berrios." Everybody laughed. Everybody's still laughing. But I think that Crowder coming back from that hamstring injury, it's going to be touch and go, and probably not a game that he's really going to want to ball out at. I'm gonna have to go with the less. I still think that Berrios, as weird and as amazing as it is to say it, I think that Berrios is gonna get the work and probably gonna ease Crowder back into the regular scheme. I'm actually even surprised that he's up here.
Yeah, I was too, actually. Previously, I looked this afternoon, and the third line there was Jerry Jeudy at 4.5 receptions, which I thought was also a really interesting one there that I probably would have gone for as far as the more options. So JPG, you would have been satisfied with that one. But that's the thing about Monkey Knife Fight. It's always changing. It's always adapting to what's happening in the NFL. So as you can see, our picks here, we're going less for Sam Darnold at 223.5 yards. We're going more for Brett Rippon at 202.5 with that Canadian lineage. Hopefully he slams a bottle of maple syrup beforehand and just charges up a little bit. And then Jamison Crowder, we're going for less than 55.5 yards. So yeah, that's where we're going. And we really appreciate Monkey Knife Fight. It's a great crew over there. We We've got some really good support from them. And if you want to get on here and if you want to enter some of these DFS prop games, go to monkeyknifefight.com, use the promo code TNFF, and you will get an instant match of your first deposit of up to $50. So if you drop $50 in there, they'll add 50 and you got 100 to play with, and you can get into a lot of different fun. It's a very versatile platform as well. I think anybody with any different knowledge of football can get in there and play and understand what they're looking at. So I really like that as well. So monkeyknifefight.com, promo code TNFF, and they've got basketball, they got baseball, they got hockey. I think they're even getting into esports now. So they're definitely sweeping the nation. monkeyknifefight.com. And lastly, that promo code is TNFF. So I'm going to bring us back to normal size here. I'm going to submit that one. I am only doing 5, and we will do that Jetpack Smash at the end after we're off the air, because I really want to see how that one goes and give JPG that satisfaction when he hits it. But further to that, go ahead, Willie. What's up?
Yeah, Trav. When we win with the jetpack, with the jetpack over on everything, I'm gonna buy you an astronauts t-shirt.
Nice. Nice. I like that. Yeah, with all of the winnings.
That would be all of the winnings. Yeah, there would maybe enough for a double coffee at Tim Hortons though. I'm
a 2 cream 1 sugar guy, but I'll take a double if that's all that's offered. So
love me some Timmy O's.
Yeah, man, Tim's is the best. You and Uncle Dale probably used to go all the time for coffee at Timmy Ho's, didn't you, Rish?
We got one down the street from where I'm staying. I'll walk a mile there and a mile back.
That's sweet. Uphill both ways in the snow?
In the snow.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
During a lightning storm.
That's your Canadian blood, Rish, is that the dedication to the Tim Hortons coffee is why you are an honorary Canadian, my man.
I got maple syrup in my veins, guys.
You might want to get that checked out, actually. Your circulation is
concerning.
probably a little bit slow. Okay, so we got one more. We're going to do trend spotting, and we're going to use one of the options, guys. We're getting up to $110 as far as our runtime here. So we're going to talk about the first option on the list that I got here. We're going to talk about that Baltimore Ravens backfield. So trend spotting is a segment where I want to pick the brains of our guests and of Will, of course, as to whether what we've seen over the last few weeks, obviously 3 weeks is a small sample size for 2020, but this is kind of how we need to adapt throughout the season and make sure that we are being water, right? So make sure that you don't get too stuck in your ways on your team and realize the actual picture that's going on, even if you might like a player or whatnot. So we're going to look at the Ravens backfield, and the one word that I've got there is unstartable with a question mark. So when we look at that backfield, Ingram's got 26 carries, Dobbins has 10 carries, and Gus the Bus has 18 carries. It is a far less rushing volume than we thought. Well, maybe not necessarily. I think it's been spread out between an extra guy with J.K. Dobbins coming in there. But Jetpack, we're going to start with you. Do you think the ugly split in Baltimore is going to be a trend throughout the 2020 season, or is that something where maybe there's like a constellation that tells us that we might want to take this guy at a certain point of the year, or maybe we see a different colored shooting star that might tell us that J.K. Dobbins hopefully tells us that J.K. Dobbins is the answer? What are you saying, Jetpack?
No, so this
one's
Haley's
comment this year.
Yeah, well, this will take me some time to decipher. You know, this backfield is a complete mess. And I think everybody's on the same page in seeing that JK is the most talented back, probably, the second most talented player probably on the team, on the offensive side of the ball. And so, what we're seeing is them kind of easing him in and knowing for a lot of the part that they can coast with some of these games. And I think game script wise, whenever they're down or whenever they're up by a ton, JK will play more. So that's what I'm hoping for. It's been really interesting. Like Gus Edwards got 13 snaps last game, and it felt like he was on the field forever. Every time you saw him, it was like ruining your day. But he wasn't on the field for that much, right? JK led the field in snaps, and so I think in terms of value, I'm still on JK to lead the backfield this season, but I just don't think you're going to get a ton of value.
Music to our ears, buddy, because Will and I can both attest to the fact that Dob Goblin is the guy that we've been touting in that backfield, even just for a second half surge. I see that smile, Rish, and it's a play on the Spider-Man character, the Hobgoblin. Thanks. So
I know.
Oh,
I think
we
I
know.
know it. Okay, I thought your
Oh,
mind was
I
going a
did
little bit
get
into
that.
the gutter, because there is a little bit of a derogatory term that sounds a little
No.
bit like that. But we're sticking with Spider-Man. It's we're gonna stay PG on the True North Pod tonight. Sorry,
That one, for whatever reason, that one just tickled me.
the Dobgoblin. It's
Yeah.
fantastic. Like
Oh, it really is.
I'm not trying to toot our own horn, but I honestly think that the True North boys come out with some really underrated nicknames.
Absolutely.
Mike Gesicki, for instance, I call him Grease Lightning, and nobody gives that any respect. But if you let me explain it, it's from Greece. If you look at Greece and you say the name Gesicki, like, hey, Gesicki, that sounds like a total Greece name. And Grease Lightning is just mint for the type of player that he is. So I don't know. That's what I'm saying.
Just to jump in there, some of our nicknames are really good. Some of them are not so hot.
Fair.
The Gesicki one is really funny because we tried to get him to do a video saying some stuff from Greece and using that nickname. He said, I am not doing this. He would not take our money.
He had no idea what the Grease reference was from. He had
Zero.
no idea. So he's like, I don't even know what I'm saying here, or something along those lines. And so we're gonna go back to that well, and we're gonna try and get Gesicki to do a True North promo.
That's hilarious. You guys actually did one of those. What's it called? The
Cameo.
cameos.
Yeah, dude, we got one from Smooth Play JK, Josh Kelly.
All right.
He's the man.
Yeah, it's boss. I'm gonna put that one up, and I'll make sure I tag you guys in that so you can see it. He's awesome. So Rish, we kind of got a little bit off track there talking about the nicknames and stuff. So let's flip back to the Dobgoblin and his other cohorts in that backfield. What's your thoughts on the shakeout in Baltimore?
Yeah, so I'm with you guys. I'm very confused why the Gus Bus has any carries whatsoever. Doesn't seem like it makes a ton of sense. You have NFL coaches just don't do what makes sense. And I mean, J.K. Dobbins is electric with the ball in his hands. You look at his stats and his per carry and his per reception stats, and they're mind-boggling. And I don't know why you wouldn't play the Dobgoblin more. And he's just, I think you'll see a trend up in volume. I think we all saw it, or we all are wishing it into existence. And I'm really hoping this is one of those Chris Godwin type situations where we see the talent, we see the athleticism, we see the opportunity, and we just kind of, as a community, as a Twitter group, we just kind of will this into existence. And that's kind of what I'm hoping for. So yeah, I mean, no one's startable on any given week right now. And again, maybe this really is what the Ravens are doing. They're like, all right, we're going to give our first teamer, Mark Ingram, a couple snaps, and then we're going to put Dobbins in, and then, you know, let's just finish it up with Gus Edwards and kind of round out the day, you know, and maybe they did treat this as their preseason, and they're just like, you know what, let's get all of them involved and let's actually evaluate in the game, because Lamar Jackson's our RB1 anyway. So we're just kind of seeing who does the best with him in. So I'm really hoping that JK gets more volume here. I think he's earning it. I think he deserves it. And I think we will see that to start to tick up. I'm not starting any of them on any given week. They're not even, I mean, maybe in deep leagues you take an upside shot there with JK getting 3 touchdowns again, but other than that, I don't really want to play any of them. Yeah,
it's JK or your JK, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Will, where are you sitting on the Dobgoblin? And then we're gonna ride this puppy out.
Yeah, love the Dobgoblin. We've had a lot of a great astronomy kind of references and insights. Mine will be more ornithology, and this is just going to be wherever the raven flies for who's going to start. I'm completely staying away from these guys. If I have them, I'm keeping them for whatever reason. If you need running back help, get Gus the Bus, like especially in these blowout games. I think that we're going to see a statement game against the poor team from Washington next week, because the Ravens got absolutely destroyed by Kansas City. They did not look like a contending team. They did not look like a team that could make a run even in the AFC. And I think that they've they're going to stop nothing short of trying to win in a Lombardi this year. And I think the team in Washington's really, really going to feel it this week. And I think it's going to be a 3-headed monster all season. So just going to be the way that the Raven flies. And I'm staying away from this. I'm not going out and getting any of these guys.
Quote the Raven, nevermore. I like that. I like that.
Wow.
I think that's a good finish on that. That was some deep stuff there, Will. So I like that as a way to finish it. So yeah, we've got the fantasy football astronauts kind of to ride it out here. The Guy Fieri of fantasy football at FF_Flavortown with no U. And then we've got Jetpack Galileo at Jetpack Galileo. So Rish, why don't you let the folks know what you've been working on with the knots lately, and then kick it to Jetpack and here we go.
Yeah, so basically over there, I'm in charge of all the podcasts right now, and right now we have 2 per week that we drop. We actually, I believe, have the first waiver wire podcast of anyone. It drops first thing Tuesday morning. It gets sent to me at midnight on Monday night, and then boom, first thing Tuesday morning, and we have a waiver wire podcast out. So we orchestrating that. And then we have our flagship one that I've been doing solo recently, but we're getting Jetpack and Jay Moyer on that in the upcoming weeks. So that'll be cooking. And then we're actually adding another one, another episode per week with Ryan Keeney, and he's going to be going through stats and breaking down trends. He's awesome with coding in his stats right now, and so we're just super stoked to start adding that in. And so you'll see the first segment of that dropping in this week. The other thing we've done is we partnered up with Sports Med Analytics, and we get imported from California. We get our medical team, and they do the injury analysis, and they give us a weekly report. So we import our medical advice. We have a bunch of doctors on the team. I think we have four doctors now, 2 chiropractors, 2 sports chiros, and then 2 MDs that give us the cutting edge in injury analysis and analytics there. So lots of things going on in the podcast world for the astronauts. And then, Jetpack's kind of taking the lead over there, and he's absolutely crushing it. And he's got our team firing on all cylinders with all the articles and YouTube content. So I'll let him kind of explain what's going on with all that.
Get into that stuff, Jetpack.
Yeah. I mean, good group of dudes. And, really for us, we're just excited to be providing content that we think is unique. And so, yeah, I mentioned a bunch at the beginning, but yeah, just make sure you guys check out our YouTube channel. You can subscribe to that. We're doing draft breakdowns. That's college game cut-ups. And then I've got scouting reports out. Jay Moyer's got scouting reports out. We have another guy, Chosen is his name, and we just added him. He's doing scouting report work. So, I mean, we're live with the content we're putting out. Very exciting stuff. But yeah, just happy to have anybody on board with what we're doing in terms of catching on to some of the exciting and what we think is the best content in the galaxy.
I love that. I love it. I love what you guys put out. Like I was saying, your YouTube channel is probably one of the ones that I frequent the most, just because all of the good stuff that I might not have a knowledge base in. So I really appreciate kind of diving into your guys' insights. You guys are all former players. You guys are both Kairos, and I love the insights I get from you guys. Even in the DMs, there's invaluable stuff that you guys help us out with. So that's much appreciated. Will, so we're actually gonna finish off with something that you and I collabed on with Viridian Global and True North Fantasy Football with the help of our man Dan Made Graphics. So we would like to announce the launch of a brand new shirt design over at Viridian Global. So I'm going to pull it up on the screen here. And Will, why don't you talk a little bit about the design and the special offer that we're giving out there with the launch of this one?
Yeah, absolutely. Our man Dan Made Graphics, super talented. We're lucky to have him on the team. He's constantly churning out great stuff for us, and he puts up with most of our shenanigans. This is a beautiful design. It was a name that was kind of coined for the followers of True North Fantasy Football by our editor, OG Joe, the A-Team. We kind of laughed about it at first and said, yeah, that kind of sounds corny. And then it just kind of grew, and then Dan made a graphic, and then next thing you know, it's on a t-shirt and a hoodie. And I absolutely love it. I can't wait to rock one of these myself. I'm actually wearing one of the hoodies from Viridian Global right now. Super comfortable. It's really roomy, really chill. Love wearing them. And yeah, a little bit about the promo. So you add one of these bad boys to your cart and you get free shipping, which is awesome. And the great thing about Viridian, it's flat rate shipping. So you can add a hoodie, you can add a t-shirt, you could add a Lamar Jackson Konami code t-shirt, you could add some, maybe there's a new partner that's coming on, maybe their wear will be up there and you could throw on one of their t-shirts or a hoodie if you want. So yeah, use the promo code the A team when you're adding one of these beautiful wares to your cart, and you get free shipping, and it's flat rate, so you can add as many items as you like. We appreciate the support. How Viridian does it is that, when you buy a brand, like True North Fantasy Football, you're helping them pay for some of this expensive stuff. It's not free to run a podcast. It's not free to run a website. And those funds are being used to put back into these podcasts and brands. So we're really happy at Viridian to kind of do our part and help these brands grow. And hey, you get to wear some really sweet gear that's really comfortable and it rocks. So again, the promo code is the A team, all in caps, and that's free shipping when you add either a team hoodie or a t-shirt to your cart. So appreciate the support in the business. It's been awesome from all y'all.
Yeah, that's beautifully said. We love the shop. We love what Viridian's done for our merch. And I think it's gone a long way for just helping the brand and helping. We've got 4 podcasts in the network and you can find all their gear on there. So we're really stoked about that partnership. And yeah, so I just mentioned the other podcasts as well. You can find them at truenorthffb.com. You can connect with us on Twitter at truenorthffb, and of course on the TNFF network on YouTube. Again, we really want to thank our guests, the Fantasy Football Astronauts. Been buddies for a long time, so it's really good to get on the mic and chop it up with you guys. I hope it is not the last time, because I would love to have you guys back on. And with that, we will talk to everybody soon. Until next week, thank you for joining. Thank you for supporting the crew. Peace.